Go ahead.
Hey, and welcome to the Deployment Zone, episode 59. This is the OFCC primer. I am Brian, for those of you who don't know who I am, and I've also got Josh here, but that's not all. We are joined with a couple of guests. We are joined with both Mark as well as Joel. Gentlemen, how are you today?
Pretty good. How about
Thank
you?
you for bringing us.
I'm doing great, and we'll be joined by John here in a little bit, but he is taking care of some family issues.
It's that whole twin toddler thing.
Putting children to bed. Just like we're going to do at OFCC, yo!
Wow.
Yeah.
For those of you who are listening and have now stopped, I apologize.
All right. Left to apologize to.
Yeah, exactly, yeah. So we'll just be talking amongst ourselves for a little while. Holy crap! The man, the myth, the legend, John is sitting down at his desk.
Good morning, everyone.
Hey, John, we just started recording like maybe a minute ago, so you've missed nothing except for a bad Josh comment.
Yo.
That's fine.
All right, so hey, it is about that time of the year, and for those of you who've been listening to the show for a number of years, you're probably surprised that we haven't done this sooner. Well, the Ordo Fanaticus Club Challenge, OFCC, has gone through some changes this year. And we'll start with the fact that the date has moved. This year's OFCC is September 25th through 28th, and it is a combo event. That means that all of our game systems will be played over the long weekend, which is why we have multiple guests on today to talk about some of those events. We are really excited. We are in a brand new space in Portland. It's the exhibition hall at Doubletree Lloyd Center. We have just a ton of space, lots of players, lots of events, so we got quite a bit to talk about. And we are just going to jump right in.
No hobby for you today.
No hobby.
No hobby for you.
It's all OFCC talk. One of the hottest games out there right now is X-Wing. And because we don't want to be trendsetters, we want to just follow along and give the people what they want. We have not one, but two X-Wing events. We've got Mark, or on the order boards known as Burke, on the line today to talk a little bit about X-Wing. Burke, tell us what we got going on.
Well, we got two events going this year. We got a Thursday event and a Friday event planned, and as well as those events, we'll have open gaming on Saturday and Sunday. But the planned events this year are a individual event on Thursday, starting at about noon or thereabouts. It'll be 3 to 4 rounds, depending on the number of people who show up, and it'll be a standard 100-point tournament, standard rules, straight out of the tournament pack that you get from Fantasy Flight. We have Jim Emmerich, who's the one of the resident players at Dice Age, a local gaming club that runs a lot of their events up there for X-Wing, and he's going to run it this year on Thursday. Friday is going to be a little different. I'm probably going to run that because nobody else is able to, but hopefully I'll get a chance to play in it as well. But it'll be a team event. It's a format that I played at Dice Age a long time ago, run by a veteran player up at Dice Age named Brian Schmidt, who's probably been on this before. I'm not sure if he's been visited with you guys or not in the past. But what it is a team event where you have 2 players on a team. Each one makes a 100-point list, but one of the players makes a Rebel list and one makes an Imperial list, and the 2 of them make one team. And then you match teams up against each other where the Imperial player plays the Rebel and the Rebel player plays the Imperial, so that way you always have that kind of storytelling way of looking at the event. That'll be 100 points per player for 200 points per side on Friday, starting at 9 or 10 approximately. I have to look at the schedule, and that'll be at least 3 to 4 rounds as well.
Excellent. Now, we're going with all ship waves now, everything that's been released to date that fits within 100 points?
Everything is legal to play with. You can't use huge ship or the epic ships in the standard tournament format, so it'll be just the fighters up through the current waves that are released. And heck, if we get another wave released in the next few weeks, bring it on down, enjoy yourself. We want all the ships out here, whatever they are. In fact, there's a good chance that Rebel Aces will be released here in the next couple weeks, and if that is, we encourage people to bring Rebel Aces.
Excellent, excellent.
Heck, it can be released the day before OFCC. Build a list, bring it down. Let's have some fun.
Perfect. And we're also going to have space for open gaming for X-Wing as well.
Yep, and I already talked to several players who can't make one of those days for the tournament. Like one of the guys can't make a Thursday, but he's going to be there pretty much the whole time on Saturday and Sunday. And we have some extra tables off to the side that some of us who won't be playing in the team events will probably be over there playing X-Wing the whole time. So
perfect.
It'll be enjoyable for us. We'll get a whole weekend out of it.
Well, okay. Speaking of the word wing, which is a good friend of ours, anything named wing, he loves it. That's not the only wing event at the OFCC. What else do we have going on?
There's also going to be a Star Trek Attack Wing game on Thursday, I believe, starting at noon as well.
Okay.
It's running by Mark Kaler. I believe that's how you pronounce his name. Yep. Sorianer on the order boards. He's going to run a standard Star Trek tournament, which I don't even know what the standard Star Trek rules are. I'm assuming it's 100 point as well. But, for those of you guys that play Star Trek Attack Wing, you know what it is. He has some information posted up on the order boards for you as well. And if you have any questions, text him or PM him, and he'll be sure and get that to you.
Perfect. Well, and I'll tell you, one of the big keys in running a much larger event like this, where we have multiple game systems being supported, is bringing in experts to run things that, hey, I may be able to run an X-Wing event, but I just don't play enough. I couldn't tell you the first thing about Attack Wing, and we've got a whole host of things listed out that I couldn't help with at all.
But I'm going to have to take a Saturday, Sunday off, so you're going to have to run Malifaux for me.
I'm going to convert that to a dice-based system before the end of the weekend. That's what happens if you leave. They're rolling dice by the end of the weekend.
Damn it!
All right. Well, hey, Mark, that sounds awesome. Hopefully I'll have some time to play in that, or at least play in some pickup games, bring down X-Wing, because that is one of those games that takes 10 minutes to set up, plays quick. It's a great game. So
yeah, 10 minutes to set up. That's a little wishful thinking in my opinion, but hey.
Hey, I run
it's worth the setup time. Yes, okay, good point for you.
It's like 3 fire sprays. I need a handful of things. I keep that crap in my pocket. I'll be good to go.
You're not playing until you got 8 ships on the board. That's where it's at.
Enjoy yourself. All right, so if you like playing games on smaller tables, we have you covered, because we also have probably the most terrain-intensive game of everything that we're doing. We're doing Infinity. Joel, why don't you tell us a little bit about the Infinity events that we have going on?
Well, we have 2 one-day tournaments. On Thursday, we're going to start at noon. It's a 200-point little tournament just to get people 3 quick games. Games will be about an hour and a half each. We're going to use the new Infinity tournament system, the ITS format. I think I put a link up on Ordo in order to get to that. And the first day, like I said, is going to be 3 rounds, hour and a half each. And then on Friday, we're going to do another one, and it'll be 3 to 4 rounds, and it'll be a 300-point spec op tournament.
Mm-hmm.
And we have enough terrain for 15 tables, so we're hoping to get 30 guys playing all at the same time. And it sounds like a bunch of the Seattle crew is going to come down. I've got a few PMs from them. And then the local crew, which from Red Castle, Dice Age, and everybody are going to come in. And we should get a whole bunch of good players and have a good time.
That is awesome. So just so I have an understanding, because Infinity is a game that I haven't even tried yet. I say yet because I will try it one of these days. So at 200 points, how many models are we talking about?
You could have like 3 or 4 models up to about 8, 9.
Okay.
And then 300 points. Most armies average towards the smaller end, except for Ariadna, which normally has a lot. So I've seen as small armies at 300 points as like 4 or 5 models, and I've seen as many as almost 20. But it's a skirmish-based game, and most people try to fall in around the 7 to 10 range.
Okay.
So.
Well, very, very cool. And then, of course, we're going to plan to keep a couple tables up throughout the weekend for open play.
Yes. Yep, there'll be open gaming all weekend. Dave Morrell and Steve Abar are both going to help run the Infinity events.
Okay.
And they've run numerous tournaments in the area already. So, and I will say the terrain is top notch that we have. It's all beautifully painted. Most of it is Micro Art Studio or Spartan Scenics or So, and we're going to be using some of that in the 40K events as well.
That is awesome.
Yeah, that Micro Art Studio is good stuff too. So there's really no reason to complain about that.
Yeah, we have 15 tubs of terrain, so.
That's awesome.
Just for Infinity?
Yeah, it takes about a tub per table.
Yeah, it is super, super terrain dense. Well, very cool. Joel, that sounds awesome. Now, there's another game that we play on a small table. I have tried this game and failed miserably. It is the bane of my gaming existence. But there are people out there that love it, including our very own Josh. Josh, tell us about Malifaux over OFCC.
All right, so Malifaux, we're gonna have 3 different events for Malifaux at OFCC. The first one is going to be on Friday. It is going to be the Masters of Ordo Malifaux event, which is the competitive Malifaux event. Come bring your stuff down, play as hard as you can, be nice about it because it is still a sportsmanship event, just OFCC in general. But this is definitely the one where you're going to be tested the hardest. It's going to run all day. Check-in will be 8:45 in the morning, and we're going to run until 7:15 that night with an hour lunch in between round 2 and 3.
Okay.
General OFCC paint guidelines are required, so you got to bring in a nicely painted crew. No.
No. We're going to let you play, so it doesn't have to be nicely painted. It just has to be fully painted.
Three colors minimum and based.
Exactly.
You bring your official M2E cards if they're the Wave 2 stuff. By that time, the Arsenal decks should be out if you order at Gen Con. But if you didn't order your Arsenal deck at Gen Con, a printed Wave 2 card will be acceptable, as long as it says Final Official on it. No avatars because they're in beta, so obviously all the game sizes will be 50 Soul Stones, 4 rounds, 120 minutes each, with 50 minutes in between for pairings, crew selection, and scoring. Single faction only, so you only get to play you will declare a faction at the beginning of the event. So say Arcanist, and that's what you have to play. But you can swap your masters out.
Okay.
So you're not held to just your one master. We're going to score tournament points, differential victory points. People who play Malifaux will know what that means.
Good.
I'm not going to go into a long explanation for that. So that is Friday's event. Saturday, we're also adding in a 2-day... Saturday, Sunday, we're going to add in a 2-day story encounter. Right now, my friend Antonio, who's my co-host over on Through the Breach, and I are working on a story encounter just for OFCC, so I don't have all the details currently right now. I can tell you that it's going to be varied size varied size games. So one game might be 40 Soulstone, one game might be 60 Soulstones. Okay. But it's still going to be a grand total of 10 hours of gameplay between the 2 days.
Now, for that story campaign, since the Soulstone number will vary, what are you going to have as the recommended number of Soulstones to come in with?
You're going to want to bring at least 70 Soulstones worth of models.
Okay.
Now, there's not going to be a 70 Soulstone game, but it's just my recommendation for you, so you can have a nice pool to select from. I'm not going to require you to send in a list of models that you're bringing to OFCC, but just know that they will be varied Soulstone games, and I'm pretty sure that the biggest one we're going up to is probably 55.
Now, are you going to post that ahead of time so people can build these varied lists prior to the event, or is that something that they do on site?
Technically, it's something that they can do on site, and there will be time built in between rounds to build your crew for each story encounter. It will be, again, fixed faction. More details will be later. I'm debating on whether or not I want to keep fixed master or not because it is a story encounter. I'm leaning more towards fixed faction over fixed master. So you'll be able to change out your crew, and it'll be more like your stories may be going on at the same time. To get things working through. I haven't decided yet. We're still working on the actual story encounter itself, but I'll have the story encounter post up at least 2 weeks before the event.
Okay.
The actual packet, maybe minus the story because I want you to come to the event and read the story.
Okay.
But you'll at least see the game rules for the event. And just like in the Friday event, 3 colors in based, and so on and so forth. Bring your Wave 2 cards, Wave 1 cards, and so on and so forth. And then finally, Saturday night between 8:15 p.m., so after dinner, and 10:25 p.m., we're holding I'm calling it Are You Hardcore? It's a hardcore event. Basically, what this is a 20 Soulstone games. There's one strategy, it's Turf War. There's one scheme, it's Assassinate for all 4 games. You only get 4 models, and that's your henchman plus 3 others that add up to 20 Soulstones. It'll be advanced standard deployment, so you'll deploy 12 inches into the board instead of 6, and you're just going to want to beat the snot out of your opponents. The thing here is, though, the game rounds are only 25 minutes.
Wow.
So you have 25 minutes to play as many rounds as you can, score as many points as you can off of Turf War, and that will determine victory. Like I said, 4 games. We'll have 5 minutes in between each game. We're gonna get this 4 games played in 2 hours. We're gonna see how hardcore you actually are.
Oh, that's crazy.
Yeah, it's gonna be crazy. It's gonna be fun. Most people will just bring one list because it won't matter. So I know my cousin Ed is has his list basically already planned out, and he's excited. But I will give you the option to swap some of your models around, though, if you want to. But again, you have 5 minutes in between rounds, and that's including pairings.
Mm-hmm.
And then you only have 25 minutes for each game.
Wow.
So that is going to be Malifaux at OFCC. Come on down, bring your toys. We're going to have a blast.
Excellent. All right. Well, that's an awful lot of Malifaux talk. I don't know how that happened. All right. So let's see. We've talked about 2 square-based games. We've talked about 2 round-based games. It's time we talk about another square-based game. John, tell us a little bit about the Fantasy Open.
Sure thing. So on the Friday of our event, which will be September 26th, at the DoubleTree, as we already have established where we're holding the event, we'll be having a 3,000-point Fantasy Open. This will be a non-comped event to where you may bring whatever you wish, special characters, whatever units, whatever Death Star you want. However, as long as it's a valid 3,000-point army for any of the Warhammer army lists. In addition to that, also, you're allowed to use all the Warhammer supplements that are official and current. In other words, you may use Storm Magic, Scrolls of Binding, Storm Magic, Sorceress Packs, most of the Forge Ruled Hammercon rules, Ogre Kingdoms, things like in Monsters Arcanum. Those may be used in your special selections. The list format, as well as the restrictions on lists, follow the Warriors Code, which is released by Games Workshop for their official tournament rules.
Mm-hmm.
And we're just really mimicking what they have as far as their tournament.
Okay.
With the exception of that, we don't have a restriction on GW models only.
All right. So you said 3,000 points. So Grand Armies are okay?
Grand Armies are absolutely okay.
Nice.
People may bring whatever they wish. The idea behind this is you can either A, create a list that's really hard to play, B, create a list that looks amazing. As long as you play it well, I think you'll do fine. The way the tournament is set up is that it's a closed list event. It's a closed list event, meaning that you don't share your list until after the game's over. You bring it the day of the event. We already have structured painting rules. If anyone has not downloaded the packet, which I put up a while back, that is available on the Ordo Fanaticus site under the download section. It'll be the Warhammer Fantasy Open. There will be a 3-round tournament, in which case the painting rules, the sportsmanship rules, and the battle point rules are all very specifically laid out within the packet. For painting, players can pretty much almost self-score themselves before the event, because I have criteria for paint scale. If you bring a 3-color minimum to the event, you're going to score a 0 in painting. Why? Just because you put the minimal effort into painting your army. But if you if you exceed the basic requirements, you'll get 8 points. And if your army is fully painted well beyond the minimum standard, you're going to score 15, which opens you up to the more advanced painting techniques as well as the scoring for that as well.
Okay.
Pretty straightforward as far as how the painting rules are set up. Sportsmanship is very, very simple. The scale of 1 to 5. 5 being an epic game, which means that I don't anticipate a lot of 5s, primarily because this should be like the game that you really, really enjoy. This is like the best game you've ever had, or one of.
Mm-hmm.
A 4, however, is a standard OFCC game. I think our games should be held to a high standard. I think our events have evoked a lot of sportsmanship and goodwill amongst our players. As a result, I think a 4 really designates what is an exceptional game, which is an OFCC game. Very friendly, and you also will want to play your opponent again. 3 is an average game, very standard game of Warhammer Fantasy. There's nothing that stood out as extremely negative or positive about the game. It was just a fun game, a good game. 2 is below average. It mean that you had some issues during the game. Maybe you weren't communicating well with your opponent, or something just seemed a little off. Just wasn't the best of games.
You had to play Josh, something like that. I got it.
Yeah.
I know
Lastly is the most important one, which is the terrible game. If you have a terrible game during the event and you score somebody one on sportsmanship, that throws up a red flag with us, because I'm making it to where if you score 2 1s in the event, you're disqualified. This is an Ordo event. As a result, all Ordo events, we expect a high level of sportsmanship, and we expect the players not to be assholes. Plain and simple. And you know what? This is an invitational tournament for the most part. Everyone with Ordo Fanaticus should already be well acquainted with how sportsmanship should be laid out. So if you're scoring a 1, meaning that you are being number 1, a terrible player and unfun to play, you don't belong in our event. But you will be talked to if you score a 1. It's giving a heads up saying, hey, what went wrong, and so on and so forth.
Okay.
Lastly, we've got the battle point and the scenario points.
Mm-hmm.
Every game, there'll be 3 games. There'll be various scenarios allocated for each game. We're using the 20-0 system, so which means that if you score 20, your opponent scores 0, you get 20 battle points, they get 0, and it's a sliding scale for the victory point margin. Also, in each game, there's going to be up to 5 scenario battle points you can score. So at the end of the event, the way we describe the best overall will be battle points. The max you can get is 75. Mm-hmm. That is going to be 50% of your score. Painting score will be the max you can get is 37.5 points, which will be 25% of the score. And the way we calculate that is we take your paint score, we multiply it by 1.25. Lastly, sportsmanship. Max you can get for that is 37.5 as well, which is 25%. The way we calculate that is take your score, sportsmanship for all 3 events, multiply it by 2.5. All that equals out to your overall score, and that will be determined the best overall.
And you're prepared to do all this math on Friday?
Dude, it's Excel. How hard is that?
All right, brother.
I'm prepared to do no math on Friday.
It's simple.
Nice.
Aside from best overall, which will be the tournament champion, where the best overall, he'll get the hammer, or he or she will get the hammer and the cool plaque. We have best general. Best general is the player that wins has the best win-loss record at the event, and also has the highest amount of scoring. If there is a tie between, if you have like 3 or 4 guys who go 3-0 during the event, then we go based on total victory points scored.
Okay.
That'll be the guy who determines that one.
Okay. Awesome.
Best painted should be pretty obvious, and should the event that we have a tie, the person who scores the most favorite army points will be the winner.
Scott's coming this year. I don't think there'll be a tie.
I don't think so either. However, there may be somebody who's better. Who knows? The likelihood of that is very low, though, because he's a really good painter.
He's phenomenal.
And then the best sportsmanship is also the last award we have. This is obviously the person who has the highest sportsmanship score. In the hopefully likely event that we have multiple generals having the same high sportsmanship score, the person who scores the most favorite opponent ratings will then be the champion. It's going to be a fairly straightforward event. I think everybody will have a lot of fun. 3 rounds shouldn't be that long. It'll be about 2.5 to 3 hour games. I've combined some of the Warhammer Fantasy missions where you have the basic mission plus things like Blood and Glory, which are usually a separate scenario by themselves, are now victory conditions that you play into each scenario. and they have a diminishing factor as we go. It's a slightly themed event. I tried to make all the scenarios work together in a general invasion theme from Chaos, but we'll see who wins the event. I look forward to running it.
Cool. That is awesome. All right. Well, on Friday as well, we are also going to have a 40K Open. The 40K Open is going to be run by our good friend Mike Andozane on the Ordo boards. He could not join us this evening. So, Joel, had you worked with Mike at all about what we're going to be doing for the 40K Open?
Yeah, I looked at it. I went over the proposal with him, and I actually have it right here in front of me.
Oh, well, how would you like to pinch it then, sir?
Well, it looks like, the Army composition, he's kind of following the very open style where there's a max of 2 detachments, one of which must be a combined armed detachment, unless, of course, you take all knights, which have their own special rules now.
Yes.
And he's allowing Forge World units and lists.
Mm-hmm.
Then, of course, it looks like Lords of War, he is not allowed except for Codex Special Characters. Lords of War, at the time of this writing, only includes Ghazghkull, which will also include, I'm believing, if he allows the book, will be the new Space Wolf stuff. So, Logan and Bjorn.
Yep.
All models WYSIWYG. You always have to be painted for OFCC events.
Yep.
And it looks like he's going to run 3 rounds.
Mm-hmm.
And the first mission, I won't get into him too deeply, is going to be Crusade with a basic deployment.
Mm-hmm.
And he has some secondaries, and he has like a special secondary as well. Second round, big guns. And fast ships never tire. So it looks like it's a combination of heavy and the fast attack at the same time.
Yes.
And then the third mission is Purge the Alien. And he has a special tertiary Maelstrom objectives for this, which are located in Ordo. So go to Ordo Fanaticus and go into the 40K Open section. You can look at all the special stuff he's got going on for that. He's got a few FAQs in there as well.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, basically it's going to be a little bit more hardcore tournament, and it pretty much is a Bay Area Open style of event. So I believe it's 1850 in points. So bring your lists out. It should be a good time. I think last year we had like 30-something players, I think, at the Open. So it went really well, and everybody seemed to have a good time. And I think it'll be awesome. It'll be neat to see some of those lists. We shouldn't see any of those at the team event, but, I mean, we should see them there, and it should be a good time.
That is awesome. That is awesome. Well, speaking of team events, usually the crown jewel of the OFCC season, and in this case, our 2 premier events during our 4-day weekend, will be the Fantasy Team Tournament and the 40K Team Tournament. The Fantasy Team Tournament will be run by Rain Dog. He's been on the show previously. He has run the event over the last several years, so he did not have a chance to join us this evening. Well, Burke and John are Burke used to play fantasy a long time ago.
Till they ruined the rules.
Yeah. So let's Burke, why don't you go ahead and start us off? Tell us what you know about the fantasy team.
Well, I like Joel happen to have the post up. Well, Eric runs it very, very. Eric, as you guys know, has a format that he uses every year for the most part, and he tweaks things a little bit here and there to make it more OFCC friendly, depending on how the meta has changed. So here's some of the general rules. You got a 4 players per team. Each team cannot have a duplicate army book, so you must have 4 different armies in each team. 2,800 points. Approved standard books, including Chaos Dwarves, Norse, and Dogs of War. No special characters, and a max of 12 power dice per phase at one time. You can generate dice during your phase, Lord of Death, etc., but dice from sources such as magic mushrooms, etc., do not count towards your total. Let's see, what else does he have here? Lists will be rated. like they are every year.
Yep.
It'll be rated from 1 to 5, and the idea is you want to go in looking for a 3. You know, you want that middle-of-the-road list that anybody who you play against will be something that people enjoy. I mean, being honest, we know OFCC is more about the team and the experience it's about the team experience and the overall experience of everybody there, not your individual experience at the event. So you want to build those lists to be forum and player friendly to your opponent.
Right.
So with that being said, some of the things he has restrictions on each army book for various things that are considered a little too strong. Example being Beastmen. You can have a max of 4 casters if you take shards of the herdsman. And John, you can tell me what that means because I haven't played this game in forever.
Shards of the Hearthstone is just a magical item, arcane item that allows you to, or an enchanted item that if you're within 6 inches of it, each caster will generate a magic die in the magic phase.
So there you go. If you have that, you can only have 4 casters total. Chaos Dwarves, there's some limitations on your Kadai Destroyers and your Fireborns, as well as you can only have 1 Hell Cannon or a Dreadquake Mortar. Bretonnian people get off light. They have no restrictions. Apparently that army book is great. You know, everybody wants to play that, right, John?
Right.
Yeah. John loves that army book, especially the army that he made for last year.
Hey, you know what? They're going to get a new book soon, so it's going to be Christmas in Bretonnia.
It looks like every single army out there, except for the Bretonnians, Dogs of War, have some sort of limitation. And Wood Elves especially have 3 limitations because I hear they're a little overstrong these days. Their limitations, because we will, take care of John. Let's list those. I'm sure John has already broken these down something fierce. But the first limitation, you may have 2 of the following in your army: Lore of Death, Lore of Shadows, Acorn of the Ages, Moonstone of the Hidden Ways. You can only have 2 of those items in your army. Second restriction is no more than a combination of 60 Glade Riders, Glade Guard, or Deep Wood Scouts. So no more than 60 total between those 3 units. And WR, John, what does WR and SOT stand for?
Wild Riders and Sisters of Thorn.
Are limited to 3 units totaling no more than 20 models. Max 2 of either unit. So looks like there's some limitations there to try and tone things down a little bit. Like I said, lists will be rated, and those that are too strong, even with these restrictions, will be pushed back to players. Says, hey, can we bring this down a little bit so it's a little bit more friendly? With that being said, he has posted up what the 5 scenarios will be. Some of those have seen these before. They're his own scenarios that have been created, but people who've come to OFCC many times will know these scenarios. The first one is the famous Kill Mr. Lucky. Long story short, what it basically means is that 1 character in your army gets a reroll every turn. He can
I believe it's one champion in your army.
Champion, I'm sorry. Correct. Champion, not character. Sorry, champion. There's also a traveling tower, which is a watchtower scenario. The only thing special about that, it looks like, is that the tower moves, and if it hits you, that's no bueno. It inflicts lots of pain upon you.
Wait, so you're telling me you could drop a tower on your enemy? That's kind of awesome.
Yeah, it is the Howl's Moving Castle mission.
Exactly. There's another one called It's All About the Core, where you're not allowed to have anything in reserve, and every unit must start 9 inches off of the center line. You can't put things too far back, can't put things too far forward. Everything's got to be 9 inches from the center line. Blood, Glory, and Monsters, and the last one, a famous one that seems to be there every year, and I'm glad he put it this year as a standard, King of the Hill. You get extra points if you're on the top versus other units. And that's the basic rules he's had out there. I will say one thing, that Eric this year had to kind of scale back on some of the stuff he put together for this year. So although Eric is hogging the event, Agent P, Bronson, is actually helping him out quite a bit with doing some of the logistical work on the back end. So he needs a little bit of a shout out for that.
Yep.
And one more thing about the team fantasy event this year, where the real spice comes in, is that you can actually spend your rare points when you during army creation to buy monsters from either the Storm of Magic book, the Monsters Arcana book, or the Tamarcon book. So if your monster that you're buying is less than 100 points, you can have 0 to 2 of them. So like you could have 2 unicorns, 2 saber tusks. Or if it's over 100 points, you say like a hippogriff, you can have 1 of them in your army. and it's really something there to spice up and bring some monsters that are fairly thematic for your list, and that's really where the spice is coming in. So
and taking that one step further, that rare points can also be spent on Dogs of War units.
correct.
Nice, very nice.
Yeah, before I realized I couldn't get my army done in time, I had bought the Skaven Brood Horror for my Skaven army. So because I was going to run that in there because it's so cool. It's not great, but it's cool.
Well, very cool, very cool. Thank you very much, Burke. All right, so let's see. We've talked about X-Wing, Hack-Wing, Infinity Malifaux, Fantasy Open, 40K Open, Fantasy Team.
And we're done. Good night, everybody.
What? Oh, wait! My most favorite event ever! The 40K Team Tournament, run by Joel. Joel, tell us about 40K Team.
Well, I got selected to run it again this year, so we're going to try a whole new thing because we got a whole new edition. And we're going to allow Unbound and everything goes. But there is a caveat. Lists will still be graded this year, and if they are deemed too harsh, you will be asked to change them. Lists were due as of the 1st in order to get the 5 bonus points.
Yep.
We do have some teams running behind, and I did put a hard cutoff for the codexes as of August the 1st.
Any chance that'll be
But since the Space Wolves will be coming out next week, I'm lifting that, and we're going to go till next week. We're going to allow the new Space Wolves Codex in.
All right, you heard it here first, I think.
That I have not posted that yet. It's going to go up after this.
Nice.
And then
big howl.
Well, I want to see that new chariot being played.
Yep.
Because it looks so awesome.
The new
new flyers.
Flyer thingy.
Oh no, there's a chariot with Logan on it.
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah. And you've got Murder Fang. How could you not want Murder Fang?
So I think it'll be neat. We'll see how the book is and everything. I think it'll be great. A lot of players were asking for me to do that, so I don't have a problem with it. And then, but going further, since we have new missions this year with the Maelstrom missions and everything, we are only going to play Maelstrom missions this year. So everybody buy your cards. Huh?
So it totally fits in with OFCC.
Yes. So
Buy
everybody
your cards.
buy your cards. This is the rule, and I'm going to post this up. Nobody knows this yet. If you have the Maelstrom cards, you do not have to show your opponent what they are. So we are going to play the 5 missions where you never have to expose your cards. When you score them at the end of your turn, you'll flip it over, show your opponent you scored it, so it's like a fog of war the entire time.
Nice. What
So-
about the one mission where you get to...
Guess which
share-
mission we're not going to play?
Aha!
There you go. So does that tell you what 5 missions we're going to play?
All right, then.
And I might change up the deployments. I'm looking at them right now. Because I don't like to play that much Hammer and Anvil. I know we're going to have more space this year, but when I get there, I'll, we'll
Hammer
figure out
and
the layout.
Anvil's always tough in a tournament.
Yeah, so we'll probably only do 1 Hammer and Anvil, 2 of the Cleanse type, and then 2 of the normal Dawn of War deployment.
Yep.
So, but there will be the 2 bonus points per scenario, just like last year, where if you're not familiar with it, there's a little add-on like one of your units will gain Feel No Pain of a 6+, and if they're alive at the end, you get a bonus point. If they're still over half strength, you get another bonus point. All that stuff's still going to be in there. We're doing the scoring totally differently this year, whereas no matter how many points you get in a category, if you're in first place, there's 20 teams, you get 20 points.
Yep.
Second place will get 19. I know a lot of people might not have heard about that yet, but that is a huge change we're doing this year.
Yep.
So if you run away with the category, it doesn't mean you're going to win. You want to do well in every single category. So I think that's really important and really a big part of the OFCC is doing well in every single category.
Yep.
So,
Now this will make
again,
scoring much easier.
Oh, make scoring way easier.
What was that, Josh?
I was saying it's not just about coming in and crushing face in one category.
Well, you can, but it's not. It does you no good. If you get first by 1 point or 100 points, it doesn't matter. You only score 1 point on that ladder.
Yeah. It'll make scoring easy on the staff. It'll make everybody knowing where they stand the whole time a lot easier, I think. Because you could say, well, I'm best painted, but if I don't do well in sportsmanship, generalship, theme, and appearance, all that stuff is all going to be equally weighted. There'll be achievements again this year. I think it's going to be. It should be awesome. Hold on, somebody's at the door. It'll be awesome this year. I'm really looking forward to it. So, I'm trying to think what else to say. It'll be run a lot like last year. But yes, I really wanted to put the onus this year on the captains to try to tone down their lists ahead of time.
Yep.
So I kind of told them that. I said, we're going to allow anything to go, but as a captain, you know what's expected. You know what to do. Bring your own guys in. And so I've got a list rating committee together. We're going to start grading lists, and we'll figure this stuff out real quick.
Well, what is, for people who are new to the whole team captain and everything like that, what is expected from a team captain for people listening?
Okay, a
For
team
both
captain.
on the fantasy side and the 40K side.
A team captain, in my mind, is responsible for all the behavior of their team because they're vouching for them to be part of their team. Is also responsible for basically doing all the logistical work up front of their team, making sure they all get paid, all their lists are in, making sure that these people belong at the OFCC. That's another big part. Like, we need these people to be conscientious, good sports, hobbyists. They need to have all the aspects of what it takes to be a person that comes to the OFCC. They're basically, if one of my people if I was running a team and one of my people did something wrong, I'm responsible for them because I vouched for them.
Right.
And then I need to correct that behavior, and I also need to look up front and say, does this person really belong at this event? Because this is not a tournament. This is an event. This is actually an invitational event where people are allowed to come, and we talk to everybody ahead of time that wants to become a captain. Normally, they're veteran players,
Right.
and we have an approved captains list. But I mean, you look. There's a spirit of the OFCC thread on Ordo. I put it in my mission statement. Like everybody's there for a reason, and we all need to get along. And we're all adults.
All right.
We need to act in an adult manner. So
here's a question. What if I am a listener to this show? I know you guys may be surprised. There are listeners. I'm not local to the area, but this event sounds really cool. I'm a good guy. But, I mean, you guys don't know me. But I'd really like to play. How would someone like me be able to play in, like, the 40K team event?
I can handle that. I actually had a guy just PM me today wanting to get into the event. Normally, everybody who captains is a veteran player that's been there before, that understands what this event is about. However, as we have grown and we are finding that other clubs have heard about us and want to come to these events, it becomes a lot more difficult to have that stringent, sorry, you have no chance of making it unless you play one of us. Usually we would tell those people, hey, do you know somebody out there that you played against? Is there somebody else that can vouch for you that's been to the event that can say that this guy gets an idea of what this event is about? And that's generally the route we go. If, and this is a big if somebody calls who is so far out but wants to come to the event but doesn't have the ability to play one of those guys or get a voucher, it's a very deep discussion that we have among this group of senators that run this club and say, do we want to throw a flyer out there on this person? Have we done it in the past? We have, and it's had mixed results. It had some people come that we think are great and we'd love to have back. There's some people that we said, sorry, you're not coming back because you just don't get it this year. However, we do have those discussions, and we will have those discussions. So if you really want to come and there's no chance you could ever meet anybody, it's probably best to have a discussion with somebody like me or Brian or Joel or somebody who gets this event and say, let's have a real heart-to-heart so you understand what this event is about. And if we have a good feeling, we'll vouch for you and say, okay, we're going to throw in our hat and let you guys try this year with the express understanding that we're going to keep an eye on you. And we're going to have a discussion with you when you show up, making sure you understand it, and at times during the event, if things aren't working out, we're going to pull you aside and say, let's rethink what this is about here, okay? Because really when it comes down to it, like I said earlier, unlike any other tournament out there, this is not a tournament in that sense because it's not about your experience. It's about your opponent's experience. That's what makes this event different for everybody else that goes to the tournament scene.
Well, I think that you bring up a great point. We are more than happy to offer a provisional captainship for someone. So all we want to do is talk to you. We want to make sure that you understand what's going on. And, if you get it, you know what we're looking for, and that's something that interests you, and that's something that you want to do, that's great. I think it's the key to growth. And we have so many groups over the last several years that have meshed really well with the club, both on the fantasy and the 40K side. It's really exciting to see. So,
Burke, what is the number one prize to take home at OFCC?
There is no prize you take home. I'm sorry. The number one thing. Okay, I know where you're going with this. Yeah, sportsmanship. Sportsmanship is the thing that people want to win. Sportsmanship is the prize that we covet above all others. We call it the Marshall Johnson Award for a previous senator who passed away, but that's the award that anybody walks away with as a team. Now, if you're an individual, you want a best sportsman pin. You can win all your games. I don't care how many sportsman pins do you have. How many times have people walked away from that event saying, I like playing that guy and I'd play him again? That's the winners.
Yeah. And for the team events, there are no actual prizes. So if you come in and you kick ass and you do really well, you get a trophy.
Congratulations.
You did a good job. And hey, you know what? You don't have to be. There aren't separate camps for I like to be a friendly player and I want to be a competitive player. These are not mutually exclusive groups. You can be competitive and not be a jackass. We want people to come. We want people to have fun. Focusing on winning is not a problem, but it is one aspect of everything that we look at. And if you do really well and you balance that, you're going to win a trophy. And you're going to be recognized for your achievement. All of the prize support that we get from our vendors, for our game stores that are here locally, we raffle off. For some of the smaller events, we may have prizes for people who win those events. But for the team events, it is trophies, and everything else is raffled away. I think it's a great way to go because you don't have people coming in, just looking for the easy payday. Like years ago when they had the Ard Boys tournament structure. I mean, it was profitable to win Ard Boys. You win regionals and you got an army. And that was hyper competitive, and people could be jackasses because it was a high prize.
Well, that also affected the perception of no comp really badly.
Oh yeah.
And I think it's important to note that Brian says that it's you can still try and win, still go out there to try and win, but is your opponent having fun? And if they're having fun, great. You've got the event. You understand what it's about. It's the old tournaments. I mean, this thing all started when people went to the Seattle GT and realized that people were there just to stomp your face and at the end of the game turn around and walk away, not having that camaraderie and that understanding that we're in a mutual event here where we both should be enjoying it, not just one person. So. Yeah.
I think it's a good guide to know your fun shouldn't come at the expense of someone else's. Have a good time, be a good player, enjoy. This is the biggest thing that we as a club do every single year, and we put a lot of hours into it purely for the enjoyment and the satisfaction of our community to come, to gather, to see people you haven't seen in a year, and to play some good games.
That's not saying that you can't win a prize at OFCC, though. And we do have sponsors that donate prizes, and those were raffled off for the main events. Brian, what are some of the sponsors this year that we have locked in?
Some of the sponsors that we have locked in so far, and we're in discussions with lots of people, but we have Secret Weapon Miniatures is coming back, which is great. We also have Soda Pop Miniatures, our good friends over there. We have War Games Factory, a new sponsor this year. Amazing Magnets is back. They will be offering magnet samples to everybody. I don't think that we've locked in everything, but we're still in discussions with Fantasy Flight. We've got Shogun Miniatures. They do a lot of great fantasy bases and movement trays. Let's see, who else is locked in at this point? Yeah, I'm just now working with our stores. Guardian Games has been a supporter of us for a long time, and they are locked in and ready to go. And I'm working with the rest of the game stores. We should have several more. So it's an exciting time, and I expect the sponsorship list to easily double from what I just delivered. But again, if you win something, that's great. But it is not about what you're taking home with regards to merchandise. It's all about the experience.
What you bring to the event. You can only get out what you put in. So.
Yeah, I think it's important that we keep referring to it as an event because it is an event. It's not a tournament. It's not something that's going to be ranked or rated. Well, that's not true. The Opens are rated. But, I mean, it's one of those things where you come to this weekend of fun, and it's glorified beer and pretzels.
Well, John, thank you for bringing that up. We didn't actually mention this. There is a newly formed fantasy circuit that the Fantasy Open is tying into. John, do you have those details handy?
Yes, it's Northwest. It's actually the U.S. Masters circuit.
Okay.
We actually have one of the gentlemen from the Dimensional Cascade podcast, who is the I guess we'll call it the program manager for the Pacific Northwest region for this event. Yep. And he has enrolled several events, like the West Coast GT. I believe Kippers. Kippers is also in there. Our Fantasy Open event, as well as the Sparkle Party Death Match 4 and the Black Sheep Brawl into this tournament circuit. And that is to allow the U.S. to compete in the U.S. Masters.
Right.
Which is then go on to the Worldwide Masters. It's a really, really great thing. It's the first time that Fantasy has enrolled itself in this type of event for us. And we'll see how it works out because the top, I believe, 3 players of the Ordo Fanaticus Open will be then brought into or given spots onto the Masters tables. So it's worthwhile to come to the event.
Yep.
And I do want to say that the Malifaux Masters of Ordo and the Story Encounter, the results for that will be sent to the Malifaux rankings for the U.S. So if you want to be, it doesn't have to. It's not really a big thing. It's not anything huge like the Fantasy Masters that will lead to anything higher. But we do have a small rankings thing where if you want to see where you're ranked in the U.S. or in Europe or wherever, you can do that. So just as a heads up, those will get sent over to the Malifaux rankings.
And something that we're working on right now, I had a chance to meet the Frontline Gaming guys during the Guardian Cup. So Reese and Frankie and a bunch of other guys came up, played in the event, had a chance to meet them, and have been in communication with them about adding the 40K Open to their ITC circuit, so that we can track results and people can earn points through the ITC circuit that's run through Frontline Gaming. And so that'll also be very, very cool. And for a short time, I was the number 2 knight player on their list, only because they only had 2 people, and I was number 2. And then another guy played in the Bay Area Open, which was just recently. I'm now number 3 out of 3. That's right, I'm in the top 3. Just because there are only 3 players on that list means nothing. I'm number 3. All right, it's the little victories. Get off me.
That's what she said.
Damn it. Okay, so our events, the OFCC events, all require you to be fully painted. A couple shows ago, we talked about our experiences attending classes with Meg Maples, a former Privateer studio painter. She is absolutely awesome. She asked me, really asked us, to mention her upcoming classes. Now, I don't think any of these classes are available to get you ready for this year's OFCC, and unfortunately none of them right now are in the Northwest, but we do have listeners that are outside the local area, so I wanted to run you through the list really quickly so you know what's going on in case it is local to you or you're going to be traveling in this area and it's something that you're interested in. Again, you can find all of this information through Arcane Paintworks, both either her website or her Facebook page. So the next class that I have here on the list is September 27th, which would be really hard to attend if you're at OFCC since it's our Saturday. But if you're not attending and you're in Kansas City, you can check that out. If you are in Kansas City and want to come all the way out to OFCC, she's having another class on October 4th. On October 18th, she's doing a master class in Maryland, in Glen Burnie, Maryland, which was the former site of the Glen Burnie Battle Bunker and the GW corporate offices. On November 1st, we've got the Atlanta Masterclass in Marietta, Georgia. On November 15th, there's a class in Chicago, in Mount Prospect, Illinois. And then, this is going to require just a little bit of travel. On January 10th, she's got a class at Good Games in Brisbane, Australia. So that's in Queensland. And then finally, January 17th, she has the Tasmanian Masterclass at Gulf Good Games Lancaston in Tasmania. So it'll require just a little bit of travel, but it is a great class. My recommendation is go to one here in the States, unless you really want to go to Australia.
And if you go to the Tasmania one, watch out for falling pianos.
There's got to be a story behind that at some point.
Yeah, I totally missed that reference.
He's making a Warner Brothers reference to dropping the piano, the Acme piano, on the Tasmanian Devil.
Tasmanian Devil, okay.
No, I got the
Cartoon
Tasmanian
Josh,
Devil. I
get
just
it.
didn't get the whole piano dropping on one.
That's how they stop him. Him and
Really,
Wally
with the
Coyote.
piano?
Yeah, it's
Or a safe,
fun.
or a rock, or any other heavy object that falls out
Are
of
you
the sky.
confusing the Tasmanian Devil and the
Coyote?
Coyote and Roadrunner? I mean, it sounds like we're getting a little cross here.
No, Bugs Bunny. Bugs Bunny.
Oh, okay. All right, guys. Any other final thoughts with regards to OFCC, the events that we have planned, or anything else in the several weeks leading up to the event?
Well, we have, less than 8 weeks from today's recording for OFCC?
Correct.
So, I mean, if you're going to be a part of the event, you really need to, get moving. Because we've already had lists required to be put in for the Warhammer Fantasy team event. As Joel mentioned, he's have lists in due, I believe, in a couple weeks?
Nope, it was 3 days ago.
3 days ago. So,
But I mean, we're talking about bonus points. Can you submit a list late? Yes.
Yes.
Should that discourage you from playing? No.
No, get them in so I can grade them.
Yeah, exactly.
It would be terrible for me to reject your list and you have to make changes with a week left.
Very true. Joel, so I want to play 5 Knights. I don't want the Lance formation, and I want the Green Knight. Am I in? Probably not. That's fine. I actually can't play. I'm going to be working. But
Remember, there's 5 of us grading, not just me.
Oh. Just tell me who I have to pay. Bribes are accepted. Guys, any other thoughts?
I think it's going to be a good event. I mean, this will be the first time we're doing a 4-day event. So hopefully this will be our, a good test run.
Yes.
Mhm.
If you are a corporation out there that likes miniature stuff and you would want to sponsor Ordo Fanaticus, who would you email?
Oh, that is an excellent question. You could email Brian with a Y at thedeploymentzone.com, and you will reach me, and we'll square things away for you. All right, well, guys, thank you very much for joining us on a late Sunday evening to record. We will be back, in theory, in a couple of weeks to talk about some more gaming nonsense. But until then, paint, submit your list, make your payment, get a spot while we still have it open, and make sure to attend the OFCC. Guys,
Yeah.
thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Right.